My name is Ethan Winters and I never intended to become an unintended expert in espionage, yet that's precisely what transpired when I discovered the astonishing facts about my wife, Natalie. We had been wed for 23 years and shared two wonderful children, our daughter Lily, who was 16, and our son Jack, who had just celebrated his 14th birthday. From the outside, we appeared as the ideal family, enjoying a blessed existence in the suburbs of Seattle. Everything started on a typical Tuesday when I returned home early from my role as a software developer. As I entered through the front door, I heard Natalie's voice floating down from our upstairs bedroom. She was on the phone, and her tone immediately triggered warning signals in my mind. Yes, baby, today was incredible. I adored every moment of it. She whispered in a sultry tone I had never heard her use with me. I tiptoed up the stairs, being careful to remain silent. The bedroom door was slightly open, and I peeked in, my heart pounding in my chest. Natalie stood before the full-length mirror, admiring herself as she gradually removed a sleek black dress I had never seen before. She wore lacy red undergarments that were certainly not from her standard practical cotton underwear collection. I wish I could stay on the call longer, but I need to shower before Ethan arrives, she mentioned to the person on the other line. The last thing I want is for him to become suspicious. She ended the call, and as she turned to throw her phone on the bed, I noticed a distinct red mark on the side of her neck, a fresh love bite I definitely hadn't given her. Natalie saw it too as she looked at her reflection and let out an annoyed sigh. Now I'll have to hide this. Why must he always leave a mark, she muttered to herself before heading into the attached bathroom. The first thing I did was check Natalie's phone after she went to shower. Not surprisingly, it was now secured with a passcode, which was unusual for her. In 23 years of marriage, she had never felt the need to hide her phone from me. I picked up the lacy red panties she had thrown onto the floor and sealed them in a Ziploc bag I got from the kitchen. Perhaps it was the software developer in me, but my initial thought was to have the DNA analyzed to see if I could identify the man tarnishing our marriage. My company operated a state-of-the-art biological laboratory capable of performing advanced forensic analysis. I could likely slip it in for testing. Then, I installed a covert camera in our bedroom, positioning it to capture a clear view of the bed and the mirror where Natalie had inspected her illicit marks. If she was turning our house into her haven of infidelity, I was determined to capture everything on video. I knew I needed to leave the house before Natalie finished her shower of disgrace. I might confront her, and I wanted to avoid revealing my suspicions until I had irrefutable proof of her actions. I drove to a local dive bar to process my thoughts over a strong drink or three. The establishment was named Hank's Tavern, and though I had passed it countless times, I had never entered. It had a certain rugged appeal that suited my current state of mind. I sat at the bar, and the young bartender approached with a discerning gaze. "You look like you could use a double." "Tough day?" she inquired. You could say that I responded with a forced chuckle. "I'll have a whiskey neat." "One double. Coming right up," she said, introducing herself with a friendly smile as Jenna while pouring a generous amount into the glass. "Thanks, Jenna," I replied, taking a deep gulp that seared all the way down. Over the next hour, the drinks and our chat flowed freely. I avoided mentioning my unfaithful wife, but it was comforting to speak to someone uninvolved in the turmoil. My life had suddenly become tumultuous by the time I staggered home just before midnight. Natalie was already asleep, or at least feigning sleep. Normally she slept without clothes, but tonight she had donned a baggy t-shirt and shorts, likely to conceal any additional evidence of her extramarital affairs. I waited until her breathing stabilized before I tiptoed back downstairs and booted up my laptop. I remotely accessed the camera I had installed in our bedroom and began reviewing the footage from the day. Most of it showed nothing unusual, but there was a significant snippet from just after I had left and Natalie emerged from the shower. She dropped her towel in front of the mirror and inspected the love bite on her neck, prodding it with a displeased look. As if that wasn't damning enough, she then sifted through her underwear drawer and retrieved a collection of skimpy bras and panties I had never seen before. She took her time choosing a matching black lace set and then concealed the rest beneath her usual cotton undergarments. Rage and sickness churned within me as I observed my wife flaunting lingerie clearly intended for another man's pleasure. It was evident this was not just a one-off mistake. The following morning, I contacted my best friend Cooper, who was a security specialist at the naval base where Natalie worked part-time as an administrative assistant. Cooper was a straightforward former Marine known for his sharp intuition, a trait that made him excellent at his job. "Coop, I need your help with something. It's a delicate issue, but I can't think of anyone else to confide in, I told him upon his answering. Of course, brother, whatever you need. You know I've always got your back, he responded promptly, using the military term for loyalty. I briefed him on all that had occurred in the past day, from discovering Natalie's suspicious phone conversation to catching her scrutinizing her own body on the hidden camera. Cooper listened intently, issuing a soft whistle when I mentioned her secret lingerie stash. Damn, Ethan. That's rough. I'm really sorry you're dealing with this, but we'll figure it out, I promise. No one deceives a Winters on my watch, he asserted. Cooper had a personal connection to this type of deceit. His ex-wife, Hannah, had cheated on him with a local accountant, dragging him through a painful and contentious divorce, but he emerged stronger and was now determined to help me navigate this crisis. Listen carefully, here's our plan. Rule number 1, trust no one but me. Anyone could be aiding Natalie or might already know about her actions, he advised. Understood, trust no one but you, I confirmed. Good. Now we need to set up more advanced surveillance to thoroughly track her movements and communications. I'm talking about a GPS tracker on her car, voice-activated recorders in your home and her vehicle, and a keylogger on her computer to intercept her texts and emails, the whole 9 yards. We're launching a full-scale domestic espionage operation until we expose all her secrets, he explained. It felt bizarre to be scheming to spy on my own wife, but Cooper's advice was sound. Half-hearted efforts would not suffice. Not with how long Natalie has been misleading me. It's time to approach this like a military operation and uncover the truth by any means necessary. I'll supply all the equipment and technology you need. It used to be classified spy gear, but nowadays you can find much of it at any electronics store, he concluded. It's frightening how simple it is to act as a private investigator, isn't it? Cooper remarked. You're telling me. It feels like I'm caught in some kind of dramatic Lifetime movie, I sighed, running a hand over my beard. But Coop, I truly value your exceptional support. I realize it must be tough considering your past experiences, I added. Ethan, I've told you, I've got your back. US military guys have to stick together. You're like family to me, and I refuse to let a deceitful woman put you through the same ordeal I endured with Hannah. This time will prevail, and she won't see it coming, he declared intensely. With the help of my insider, I dove into uncovering Natalie's deceitful double life. Utilizing GPS logs, I tracked each of her dubious errands and appointments, quickly compiling a comprehensive timeline of her affair within the week. The computer keylogger and voice recorders filled in the remaining gaps. I discovered that my wife's lover was a scoundrel named Blake Peterson, who held an ambiguous position with a defense contractor at the naval base. He was married with 2 young daughters, yet spent his time seducing his colleagues. I intercepted damning snippets of conversations between Natalie and her confidant Eli, where they ridiculed me for my obliviousness. But under the pretense of installing a new Wi-Fi booster, I installed spyware on Natalie's laptop, granting me access to all her risk text exchanges with Blake and their scheming to mislead me. The worst was reading emails she sent him, romantically detailing their intense physical connection but lamenting his lack of commitment, which led her to settle for playing house with boring, old Ethan. Reading those words felt as though Natalie had viciously clawed at my heart. The audio monitoring in Natalie's ESUV captured equally condemning evidence. Blake just takes me wildly, like a beast, something Ethan would never do, she boasted to Chelsea during a drive to her Pilates class. Wow, that sounds incredible. Ethan's too tame for you. You need a real man like Blake, Chelsea agreed. Absolutely, Chel. Living this double life is thrilling. I maintain the perfect wife persona with Ethan but can be completely wild with Blake. It's like being a spy, she reveled. I clenched my teeth so hard my jaw hurt, my fists tight at my sides, every word stabbed at my wounded heart. Who was this woman I had devoted half my life to? That evening, the listening devices I had hidden in our marital bed recorded Natalie initiating intimacy, trying to caress me under the covers. I had been distant since my suspicions were confirmed, struggling with the idea of being close to her. I rejected her advances, citing exhaustion from a tough week at work. She turned frustrated, exclaiming, Jesus, Ethan, would it kill you to show some affection? We hardly ever make love anymore. The irony of her words nearly overwhelmed me, but I swallowed the harsh retorts rising in my throat. I thought bitterly, perhaps I'd be more inclined if my wife wasn't betraying me with a co-worker. However, I needed to maintain my oblivious facade a bit longer. Natalie couldn't know I was aware of her betrayals until I had gathered a complete dossier of her deceit. With Cooper's tactical expertise and my technological skills, we were poised to confront her with a reckoning beyond her worst fears. This pattern of narrow escapes and secret investigations lasted another strained week. I found solace in Hank's tavern, where the dim lighting and strong drinks offered a brief escape from the daily torment. Jenna, the bartender, looked forward to my visits, always ready with a comforting word and a liberal drink. I learned she was navigating through nursing school by working bar shifts to make ends meet. Her genuine warmth provided a soothing salve to my tormented soul. Cooper leveraged his military connections to gather more information on Blake, uncovering a lengthy history of procurement fraud and embezzlement. He had been exploiting government contracts for personal gain for years. This guy isn't just a common adulterer, he's a criminal and a predator. We can nail him for far more than his affairs with Natalie if we play our cards right, Cooper stated grimly. The decisive evidence came when I intercepted a series of messages Blake sent to Natalie, urging her to meet at the CI Apple Grove Motel during their lunch break the following Wednesday. After examining the security camera footage, Cooper identified that Blake had been using this motel as a rendezvous point for his affairs with several colleagues. This presented the ideal chance to catch them unequivocally in the act. I know the owner of that motel, he's an old army friend of mine. He rents out rooms at a low rate to enlisted men, Cooper explained over a greasy burger and fries at Hank's. Can he let us in there before Blake and Natalie arrive to set up hidden cameras, ensuring there are no uncertainties about their actions, I queried. Oh, he'll grant us complete access. He owes me a bunch of favors. We can either reserve the room next door or set up directly in their rendezvous spot, whichever gives us a clearer view, he replied, giving me a knowing wink. Jenna approached to collect our dishes, her blonde ponytail swinging. Are you guys stirring up trouble again? She teased lightly. I managed a strained smile, not wanting to burden her with my troubles. No more than usual, Jenna. But speaking of, why don't we cover your tab tonight? Consider it a future nurse discount. Oh, stop. You don't have to do that, Ethan. I'm just happy to see you getting out a bit. You've been here more than some of my regulars lately, she remarked, squeezing my shoulder. I know I've been pushing myself too hard recently, there's a lot on my mind. But I really appreciate you tolerating me, I admitted. You're going to be an exceptional nurse with that kind of care, I complimented. Jenna blushed prettily. Well, if you insist, I guess I can let you buy a drink or two, since you asked so nicely. Before she walked off to attend to her other customers. Cooper chuckled softly. That girl definitely has a thing for you, man. Don't think I haven't noticed all the eye contact and hair twirling. Sure, Coop. I'm just another middle-aged guy drowning his sorrows in his drink. She's probably just used to dealing with guys like me, so we don't get too messy, I responded, shaking my head. All right, Ethan, keep telling yourself that, Cooper smirked. The day we had been preparing for arrived with a sense of stern fulfillment. Cooper and I stationed ourselves at the Apple Grove Motel, observing from the adjacent room as Blake and Natalie arrived for their secretive noon rendezvous, exactly as Cooper's army buddy had arranged. We had the entire scene comprehensively recorded with audio and video from multiple angles, leaving no room for them to deny their actions. Bitterness rose in my throat as their mocking laughter and excited moans resounded through the tinny speakers, but I forced myself to watch, letting them be the main actors in this drama that would alter both our futures. After their session of violating their marital vows, I overheard Natalie slightly. Breathless, God, Blake. Why must it always be like this, sneaking around in cheap motels? When are you going to leave Angela so we can finally be together? Don't start this again, Nat, Blake retorted irritably. You know it's not that simple. I have too much at stake, my career, my finances. Angela would take everything, including my daughters, if she found out about us, and what about me? Am I supposed to just wait indefinitely, dealing with Ethan every night while I dream of being with you? Natalie responded, her voice shaky. Look, you knew the deal when we started. I'm not the settling down type, but trust me, no one satisfies you like I do. So stop overthinking and just enjoy what we have, Blake coaxed. Cooper and I didn't linger to hear more. We had gathered all the proof we needed. He immediately placed a secure call to his federal contacts while I silently seethed. It took immense self-control not to burst through the door and confront Blake physically, but this deceitful rat deserved a far more severe punishment than a simple assault could deliver. Cooper assured me his friends at the FBI would ensure Blake faced extensive time behind bars for his array of fraud and corruption, securing a conviction that even his skilled lawyers couldn't evade. Delivering the proof of his infidelities to the field office tonight will provide the evidence needed for his wife to decisively win in divorce court and take everything. Angela Peterson is about to become a very wealthy woman, Cooper stated with a satisfied grin back at Hank's tavern. That evening, I found I could barely sip my usual whiskey, my mind preoccupied with the impending downfall that would shatter Blake and Natalie's secretive world of betrayal. Jenna noticed my distant gaze and tense posture and replaced my drink with a tall glass of ice water. "You look incredibly stressed, Ethan. Why don't you talk to me? Let me help share some of that burden," she urged softly. Overcome with emotion, I spilled the entire sordid story, Natalie's prolonged affair, Blake's white-collar crimes, and the profound feelings of betrayal, rage, and devastation I felt. Jenna listened intently, offering non-judgmental support. "I had no idea you were enduring such terrible things. Ethan, you certainly didn't deserve any of this," she said. "It doesn't feel that way. It feels like I wasn't enough for her. Maybe if I had been more attentive, or more adventurous, or wealthier, she wouldn't have strayed," I said bitterly. Jenna's eyes flashed with intensity as she took my face in her hands, making me look her in the eyes. "Listen to me, Ethan Winters. You are a good man, a decent and hard-working man, and that is enough. Do you hear me? Natalie was selfish and cruel to do this to you and your children. Her mistakes are not a reflection of your worth," she insisted. "Thank you, Jenna." "You've been such a beacon of hope in all this darkness," I murmured. She smiled, though it was shadowed with a sadness I couldn't identify. "I know a bit about being hurt by those who should love you the most. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone," she shared. The moment passed, and she shifted back to her professional demeanor. "Now, can I get you something to eat? You won't be any help to anyone if you faint from hunger," she said practically. I managed a small laugh. "Yeah, you're right. A burger and fries sound perfect right now." By the time I left Hank's that night, some of the weight had started to lift from my shoulders, with the truth firmly in hand and justice beginning to turn its wheels. I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Blake and Natalie were oblivious to the storm about to engulf them. Cooper's predictions were precise. Within 24 hours of turning over the incriminating evidence to the FBI, Blake Peterson was taken from his office in handcuffs. Angela filed for divorce that very afternoon, armed with solid proof of his extensive cheating. Securing half his assets and full custody of their daughters was just the beginning of his problems. Natalie was taken completely by surprise when she came home from work, only to find me waiting at the kitchen island with a thick manila envelope. "Sit down, Natalie." "It's time we had a serious talk," I said. Her forehead furrowed in worry, but she complied, perching on the edge of a stool. "Ethan, what's going on? You're starting to worry me. Is something wrong with the kids?" A harsh, humorless laugh escaped me. "No, Natalie. Our children are just fine." Blissfully unaware that their mother is a deceitful cheater, Natalie recoiled, as if I had struck her, shock and panic etching her face. "What? How can you accuse me like that?" I slammed my hand down on the counter, cutting off her feeble denials. "Save it, Natalie. I know everything. I know about Blake, I know about your secret motel meetings, I know about all the lies you've been spinning for months. So don't sit there and insult my intelligence any further." All color drained from her face as her facade crumbled. "Oh God, Ethan, please let me explain." "What? There's nothing to explain." "What? There's nothing to explain. You've been unfaithful with your co-worker and mocked me behind my back. Our entire marriage is built on a foundation of your deceit. There's no coming back from that," I declared. Natalie reached across the island for my hand, but I withdrew it as though her touch scorched me. "Please, Ethan, it was a mistake. I was confused and lonely, and you had been so distant. I never meant to hurt you. It's you I love. It's always been you," she begged. I gazed at the person before me, who seemed like a stranger wearing my wife's face, and felt only revulsion. "If you truly loved me, you never could have done this. You've destroyed our family, our future, and for what? A few fleeting moments of excitement with a man who treats you like a toy? You disgust me," I declared, a chill settling in my chest as I pushed the divorce papers across the counter. "This is the beginning of the end. I've already talked to a lawyer. You'll be hearing from them soon to discuss custody, but I want you out of this house, Natalie. You can't continue to pretend to be the devoted wife and mother after this then." The facade of regret and insincere apologies vanished, replaced by a look of bitterness and resentment. "You sanctimonious jerk. You think you're flawless. Maybe if you hadn't let yourself go and treated me like a real woman, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere." She spat venomously. I met her malice with unyielding detachment, refusing to let her words affect me. "Tell yourself whatever helps you sleep at night, Natalie. But we both know this isn't about my failings. You've ruined this, you've ruined us, and you'll have to live with that for the rest of your life, I responded coldly. The divorce process was a torturous haze, but I strove to handle it with as much poise and integrity as I could muster, especially for my children. My attorney, a shrewd and seasoned professional named Diane, guided me expertly through the legal maze. She reassured me that, given the overwhelming evidence of Natalie's unfaithfulness, I had a solid case for a favorable divorce settlement. Nonetheless, it was painful to sit opposite the woman I had once committed my life to, dividing our belongings and deciding custody terms as though we were just business associates. Natalie audaciously contested every issue as if she hadn't been the one to violate our vows and tear apart our family with her selfish acts. The most heart-wrenching moment was when we had to explain to Lily and Jack that Mummy and Daddy wouldn't be living together anymore. The pain and confusion on their innocent faces felt like a stab in my heart. I embraced them as they wept, holding back my own tears, promising that I would always be there for them, no matter what. Ultimately, we settled on shared custody, alternating weeks so the children could spend equal time with both of us. It wasn't perfect, but it was crucial for Lily and Jack to keep a connection with their mother despite her betrayal. I had to rise above my feelings of anger and pain for their sake. Those initial months on my own with the children were daunting. Learning to balance work, home duties, and solo parenting pushed me in ways I had never anticipated. There were evenings I collapsed into bed, physically and emotionally exhausted, wondering how I would manage it all. But during those moments of doubt, I found strength in my children's resilience. Lily and Jack adapted to our new situation with admirable grace. They became more involved at home and opened up to me more than ever before. Gradually, we began to heal as a family unit of 3. It wasn't easy to explain to the kids why their mother had acted as she did. I refrained from disparaging Natalie in front of them, even though part of me yearned to expose her faults. Instead, I focused on assuring them that the divorce was not their fault and that they were loved immensely by both parents, even if we couldn't be together. As time passed, the wound started to heal. The pain of Natalie's betrayal would always be a scar I'd carry, but it no longer dominated my every thought. I learned to find happiness and purpose in my new reality, focusing on being the best father I could for my kids. Of course, moments of anger still surfaced, sharp bursts of fury when I recalled Natalie's lies and the extensive deceit she had maintained for so long. During those times, I relied on Cooper and Jenna to help calm me down. They reminded me that clinging to bitterness would only harm my own spirit in the end, so I chose to release it to forgive Natalie, not for her benefit, but for my own tranquility and for the welfare of our children. I refused to let her selfish actions shape or govern my future joy. As the dust settled on our divorce, I found that I was not merely surviving, but flourishing in my new reality. Lily, Jack, and I grew closer than ever, forming an unbreakable bond through the ordeal of our shared pain. We learned to discover joy and light in even the darkest moments, to value the small instances of happiness that life presented. I was aware that our path forward wouldn't always be smooth. There would be obstacles and deviations as the kids processed the trauma of the divorce and adjusted to our changed family dynamics. But I was also certain that we would confront these challenges together, fortified by the knowledge that we could withstand any adversity as long as we supported each other. The divorce might have marked the end of the life I once envisioned for myself, but it also began a new chapter, a narrative of resilience, hope, and rebirth. It was a story of a man and his children rising from the ashes of betrayal to forge something beautiful and enduring. And that was a legacy I could take pride in, no matter what lay ahead. Thank you. Don't forget to hit the like button, and if you are over 18, don't miss the next story.